last video, we had a look at the floors, or lack thereof, and I showed you how a cabinet maker frames walls and floors. So in this one, I'm going to see how those framing skills were as I start sheeting these walls with gyprock. My number one tip for hanging gyprock is use stud adhesive. This house has a bit of movement seasonally, so using stud adhesive actually makes the walls more rigid by stopping racking, aka side to side movement. I've used 1,000,000 screws in this room. Some say too many, but I wanted perfectly flat and straight walls so that in turn the tiling turns out perfect too. Number 2 tip is don't hang anything unless your walls are straight. It's up to you or your builder to make sure of that. I don't want to spend good money on tiles only to have them move or crack. I've only got one shot at it, so you've got to get it right. The plaster sheets I used were Gyprock Aquacheck, as these are made for wet room applications. And the topping plaster is also wet room stuff. So here I sheeted over the niche in the shower and then I cut out the recess with an oscillating tool. I used this over a router because it creates a much smaller cut line so that I can use the piece to install on the back of the niche. I trimmed out the niche, making sure that the bottom piece had a slight slope to the front, so that any water left on the tile flows out the front. Alright, here's one method to get your holes in the right spots. Cut your plaster to size, then grab a Sharpie and physically draw onto the end of the pipe or spout to make it completely black. Then just press the sheet against it so that the mark is visible on the back. Then just pilot hole that mark from the back and then finish off from the front. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Or you can just do it the old fashioned way of measuring, like an idiot. Who uses tape measures anymore? In the last video in this series, I'm going to be going through the exact cost of this ensuite and roughly how long it took. I also want to give you some tips on how to keep on track if you're doing this kind of renovation yourself. The trades that you can't or shouldn't not use are plumbers and electricians. You really don't want either of those things going wrong. I've got a good mate who's a Sparky who helped us out heaps, so shout out to Tristan, top bloke. I will add that getting someone to do your waterproofing would be smart, but make sure you do all of your due diligence and make sure they're absolutely awesome. Because there are some dodgy people out there who will just give it a crack, but at the end of the day are awful, and you'll have to pay again to get it fixed, so do it right the first time. Here I'm doing a similar thing as I did earlier to the shower niche, but here I'm using a router instead. This hole is a cutout for the shaving cabinet, which will be recessed into the wall, and also sticks out about 100mm to house the LEDs on the perimeter, along with creating more storage, which will be vital for this small space. Right here is where the shower screen is going. So what I've done behind this wall, I've done a back blocking so that I can put a channel inside this plaster. In the end, you won't see any of this. You might see a little, maybe a mil of it, and it's getting sprayed out the same colour as the grout. I decided to sheet over this and then cut it out with the multi-tool after. So then the sheets are all straight, they're all in line, yada yada yada. And so then I'll just eat into that and then fit it off and then tile up to it. So yeah, wish me luck. This shower track is now embedded into the plaster and it gets tiled up to either side. My skim coating skills have improved since this video, but
This wall is getting waterproofed and tiled over, so I'm not too fussed about it.
We're going to put some towel hooks up here, custom made ones. So I wanted to have some backing rather than just plasterboard for it to get hooked onto. So what I've done is cut out a piece of plaster. This is a new piece. Traced it onto there. Use your multi-tool to cut that out. Then what I do is got a piece of board. This is a piece of flooring, 20mm flooring. And what I'm going to do is stick this up in here and screw that, like glue and screw that off, and then put that piece of plaster back on there and then plaster over it. Just so we've got something strong to put our hooks onto.
In the next video, waterproofing, tiles, shower screens, cabinetry, paint, fixtures and fittings, toilet and basin are all going in, and you'll see exactly how it turned out, and I'll share how much it cost and if we'd do anything different next time.
Plaster over that. Beautiful. Then you've got a nice strong thing behind the wall. Awesome.
Lastly, I didn't want cornice in here because I hate cornice, so I'm square setting it. To save cash, I also didn't replace the ceiling plaster. Instead, I just repaired all the holes and it turned out really well. I did mention in the last video that the tiling would be in this one, but it'll actually be in part 4 because there was a tad more I wanted to show in this one. So check that one out, and thanks for watching. Let us know what you think in the comments. Except if you think my plastering is rubbish, you can keep that one.